Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you guys don't already know who I am, my name is Christian. I am a veteran filmmaker and owner of Veteran Entertainment Network. I started this company first so that I can make my own films, and it kind of turned into something more. I decided that I wanted to really focus on hiring veterans and veteran families. I remember when I first got out of the military that I had trouble getting into the industry or even getting a job as it was. Our main focus was to hire veterans, right? Even if they didn't have any prior experience, we'd take them over and we would teach them how to operate a camera, how to assist a camera, how to become a PA, and stuff like that. And I felt like there was a way that I could kind of give back a little bit. Um, Next year, it'll be 10 years that I've been doing this. So I feel like maybe I have some knowledge that somebody can pick and take from me. I don't want to say that I know everything because I don't. I'm still not where I want to be in my career, but well on my way. And I've done many different positions. I started off as a PA, moved into the camera department as a utility. Then I became an AC, media loader, eventually an operator, and I've AD'd, second AD'd, I've directed and produced and executive produced. I guess for like the last couple of years, I've been an executive producer slash producer, and most recently with VEN Media, I am a video producer. What does that mean? That means I'm the guy that makes sure that all these productions get made and how they're made, and I have to deal with all the clients, and I have to figure out what kind of video they want to get made, what their target is, and we got to make sure we're going to make a video that's going to hit all their targets. I have two departments in my company right now. Veteran Entertainment Network is the main company, and we focus on making scripted short films, scripted feature films, and currently we're working on a non-scripted show. We're still in the beginning processes of that show, and it's all veteran based. So we'll a little bit more about that later in a later episode. But for now, just know that we're working on something like that, and I have another producer that I'm working with, and that's kind of how it's coming together, right? We're hoping to get that out in the air by November of 2025. So stay tuned for that. I'll give you more information as that comes down the pipeline. So going back to working with veterans, in 2015 is when I decided that I wanted to go full force and become a filmmaker. So I've been wanting to become a filmmaker since I was in high school, but it's taken me till 2015 to make the leap, right? Everyone says just make that jump, take that jump, and everyone is just scared to do it. And I said, well, you know what? It's now or never. I quit my job. I had a full-time job as an electrical apprentice, and I figured that if I stayed as an electrical apprentice, I would eventually become a journeyman, make enough money to become comfortable, and then I was scared that I was going to be too comfortable and not want to leave my job as a journeyman. So I decided to quit while I was ahead, and I started out with nothing. Went to YouTube college. I did a lot of research, watched as many videos as I could about filmmaking. And trust me, there's a lot of good information out there, but there's also a lot of bad information. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. And what I ended up doing was buying a Sony a6400, which is a great camera, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like the digital look. I wanted something that was going to look more cinematic, so I ended up returning that camera, and then I kept doing my research, and I found a camera that was perfect for the look that I wanted, which was a Canon 70D at the time. I was able to get the body for $600 off of OfferUp, I think, or Let Go at the time. I'm not sure which one it was, but I was able to get the camera body for $600, and I still had enough money left over to purchase more lenses. So I ended up going with some prime lenses, a 35mm, 24, and a 50, and that was my kit. I also bought some sound equipment, an H4n for $100. It's a little sound recorder because all the videos that I watched, they talked about how sound was like really a big deal. If you have terrible sound, nobody wants to watch your video. Some people can't stand watching your video with terrible sound. And you won't even know why you don't like it, but you'll just be like, oh, there's something off with this, and I'm not gonna watch the rest of it. After that, I wrote a script, casted everybody. So by April of 2016, I started my first company called CG Films, and I put this production together. We shot it in April. Spent all of May editing. By the end of May, I had a screener, and it was a terrible movie. It had nothing to do with the actors. The actors were amazing, and I thank them for working with me at the time. Some of them went and did some other stuff after that because of this short film that I made. which is awesome to hear. The story sounded better in my head than it was when it was written down. So a couple of things that I learned from that is my camera wasn't as good as I thought it was with no lighting. I didn't have any lighting at the time, so that's something I didn't think about. My sound equipment was decent, but the positioning of the microphone was terrible. I had a sound guy, but he was in the corner of a room, and it sounded terrible. We might as well have not used a microphone, right? So I had my screening. Friends and family came over to watch it, which was great, and everybody seemed to like it, and they were super proud of it. But then after that was over, I came to the realization that it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, and it sounded terrible, and there was no way I was going to show that in a film festival. So at that point, once I realized that my film was terrible and I couldn't really put it anywhere, and I couldn't even put it on film festivals, I decided that I needed to get more training, right? I needed to get more experience. I needed to figure out how to write a better script, how to write a better story, and how production works in general. Because right now I was kind of just going crazy, just trying to figure it out, right? So I ended up looking up film schools around my area. LA Film was one of them, but they didn't offer a bachelor's degree, which is what I was trying to get. They only offered a certificate. Or I could attend NYFA, New York Film Academy, which offered a bachelor's degree and or a BFA, and that's where I decided to attend. So luckily, after we had just finished up my first short film, they had asked for, a proof of a project you've done before or a script that you've written before, etc. So I submitted my script and I submitted my finished film. It was terrible. I was embarrassed, but I was able to attend New York Film Academy after that. After a couple of years of attending, I got a lot better. I started shooting videos here and there for several smaller clients here and there as a student status, So they're paying me a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, and it was great. I loved it. Some clients were easy to work with, some clients were not so easy to work with, and that's kind of where I started figuring everything out. But that's never what I wanted to do. My intent was to go from film school into making scripted short films and features and TV shows. During film school, I was able to land a gig working as a PA for HBO's Ballers. And they ended up putting me as a camera PA, which I had no idea I was going to fall in love with. But it was only a 2-week internship, I guess you could say. It was a 2-week gig. And it was towards the end of the semester of the school. So I asked all my instructors if I could miss the last 2 weeks of class so I could, or I think it was like the last 3 weeks of school. And I needed to miss 2 of those 3 weeks of school. Most of them agreed that it was fine, but it was going to be up to the school at the end of the day whether I would fail the class or not, because they had a strict 3 absence policy. Like if you've had 3 absences, you'd fail the class, right? So I had 4 classes, and all 4 classes would end up failing me if I missed more than 3 days. So luckily, I hadn't had any days off yet, or I hadn't missed any days yet, and it was towards the end of the semester. So I asked for permission. The school denied me, but I figured, I'm like, this is my career. The whole point of me going to film school is so I could advance my career. So I took the risk, and I ended up failing all my classes. Once that happened, I ended up deciding to drop that school wasn't for me anymore. I dropped out, continued working for about a year and a half as a utility on a bunch of different shows. And at the same time, I got hired as a PA for Who Was America for Showtime. So I worked on that show for about a year and a half during production. And after that, I decided to go back to school. So at that point, LA Film was offering a bachelor's degree in film production. So I decided to go back to school again and continue my degree at LA Film. I graduated with my associates. That's around the time the Big C came around. So it was a bad time to look for work. And at the same time, around March, an old military buddy of mine calls me and he goes, "Hey, dude, I have a buddy who I'm working with, my coworker. He's looking for somebody to make a video for him." And I told him, I was like, "Dude, I don't make videos. I work behind the camera, but I'm not a camera operator. I don't create any of these videos. All I do is I'm a assistant camera, all the support basically for the camera department, but I'm not an operator." I had just bought my first Blackmagic at the time, so I was kind of getting into it, but I wasn't advertising myself as an operator whatsoever. So I spoke to his coworker, who ended up being a 2.7 guy, And he goes, dude, he's like, you'd be doing me a big favor by making this video for me. He's like, I have pictures and I have a photographer, but I don't know any videographers. And I'm hoping that you can do this for me. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? Being a 2-7 brother, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that was that. So we agreed to making a video for him. And I ended up calling some of my school buddies and I said, hey, you want to come do this project with me? There's no budget for it, but let's figure it out. A lot of them agreed. Then we came to our next next blockage, I guess you could say, in the wall. So I had my Blackmagic camera, but there was no cage to it. There was no batteries to it. We had one V-mount battery that we could attach to it, and very limited lenses. We had 3 lenses, right? But no ND filters, and no stabilization, none of the extras. It was all just very basic camera, right? The DP that I hired had a circular ND, which wasn't even for the lenses that I had, but he were like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can use these for whatever. And we risked it. We grabbed it. We took some gaff tape, taped it onto the lenses as we needed them, because some of the scenes were out in the beach during the day or like around golden hour, but it was still really bright. You know, my client was just looking at me like, what is going on here? What is this, right? We show up with a small little basic camera kit and tape all over our lenses and cameras, and we looked like a mess. The thing is, we usually rent our gear, and right now, because of the C-19, we can't. Everything's closed, and this is the very limited gear that we have. This is the gear that we have currently. Since then, obviously, I've grown my gear, and now I have several different cameras, matte boxes, and ND filters, and everything that we need, lighting. But that wasn't the case during this time. So we go ahead and shoot that day. The shoot comes to an end. The next day, we end up editing, putting something together. I ended up reaching out to a friend of mine out in Vegas who I'd worked with in the past and asked him to give it a second edit just for me. And the next day, he delivered, and I was blown away about how good our video had turned out. Reach out to my client. I'll let him know that we're done with the video. He comes over to my office. We screen it real quick. I guess you could say that was a turning point for me, because that was the time that I came to the realization that this is what I wanted to do. This is part of what I wanted to do. He was so full of emotions and so grateful and just amazed on how great the video had turned out. I couldn't even put it into words, but I could feel the energy there. So he ended up sending it straight to the company that he was trying to do business with, or they had a deal going on or something like that, and what he needed was a video so that way he could push that deal into closing. And the people saw the video, and they called him almost immediately, and they closed that deal. And then from then on, I thought to myself, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do moving forward. And this is when VEN Media came about. And our main mission was to help other companies reach their goals. So from there on, we started growing a little bit. We got more business by word of mouth, and I continued that way, just word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth, up until 2023, this past year, 24. In 2024, things started slowing down a little bit in the beginning of the year. I had one of my last clients was in March, April timeframe. And that's when we realized that we needed to start to reach out to other clients that weren't just word of mouth, right? But it was a little too late. We were like in the second quarter already, and we hadn't had any new clients, only the ones that we had previously. But even then, those projects started slowing down. The last quarter of 2024, we took a break, not necessarily a break, but we kind of slowed down production and just kind of started refocusing on our business goals and what our goals for 2025 are going to be looking like. So that includes starting a YouTube channel, having more of a presence on social media, which we haven't been doing in the past. I want to say like 2025 is kind of like an experiment year, right? We're going to see how well we do with 2025. We're going to be posting more YouTube videos, which we had never done in the past. And we started posting more reels on Instagram as well, social media. And so we're trying to figure all that stuff out, and at the same time continuing with our clients and are trying to get new clients as well. We're trying to change how we get our new clients because in the past it was all word of mouth. We would like to start acquiring new clients through other mediums. But that's a little bit of our history and how we got to where we are right now. Stay tuned for more videos. We're going to be talking about gear that we use, what projects we have coming up, and stuff like that, and some behind the scenes as well. We're going to try to capture some more of that. In the past, we haven't really done much of that, but moving forward, we will be capturing more of that. So if that's what you want to see, or if you guys have any suggestions of what you would like to see, go ahead and let me know. Write something down in the comments. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos. And I will catch you guys on the next one.